Court, President Donald Trump has renewed his push to tighten birthright citizenship rules. While the court reaffirmed that citizenship is guaranteed by the U.S. Constitution and cannot be taken away through an executive order, the Trump administration has now issued fresh directions targeting specific categories of cases. The new order focuses on children born to foreign diplomats, individuals designated as alien enemies, members of designated terrorist organizations, and cases where the government alleges immigration fraud. While these measures do not change the status of children already born, they signal a sharper immigration enforcement approach. For Indians, there could be greater scrutiny during U.S. visa interviews, especially for pregnant applicants, with officials likely to exercise greater discretion if they suspect travel is intended primarily for childbirth. Legal experts also expect these new measures to face continued court challenges. Now, the big question is whether this is the beginning of a broader immigration crackdown or another legal battle that will once again end up before the U.S. Supreme Court. Let's talk about this with our guest. Joining us on the show is Ambassador Bhaswati Mukherjee, former diplomat. Dr. Sharad Kohli, senior economist, is with us on the program as well. Professor Madhav Nalapat, editorial director of the Sunday Guardian, joins us on the show as well. And last but by no means the least, Mr. Surinder Singh Lali, foreign affairs expert, with us on the program as well. Professor Nalapat, what's it going to be? Things can't get any more stringent when it comes to U.S. visa and the aspirations of lakhs of Indians who want to move to the U.S. They've already been jolted by a number of amendments and rules that Donald Trump has promulgated. What is he trying to do? Is he intending to curb all kinds of immigration? Is he actually going to stop that one facet that has helped the Americans become so successful on the back of immigrants?
Well, Vineet, I'd like to point out that Indian Americans, those who have been born in the United States and those who have come and migrated to the United States, they have been among the most significant contributors to tax revenues in Washington and to scientific advancement. The explanation for this is very simple. Trump is obsessed with the idea of the Caucasian, that is the white race, becoming a minority in the United States. Now, that is one of the strong pillars of the MAGA base, that the white race should not become the minority. But unfortunately for Trump, that train has already left the station. The fact is that the ethnic Caucasians, whites, their birth rates are quite low. In fact, they're below replacement, which basically means over a long period of time, their numbers are going to keep falling down. On the other hand, Latino Americans, African Americans, and interestingly, Indian Americans' birth rates also fairly low. But African American, Latino Americans' birth rates are much higher. And that is why now more and more you can see the influence of Latinos in politics, the influence of African Americans in politics. Now, frankly, I don't see this measure passing the Senate, forget the Supreme Court, for simple reason that in every senator's constituency, there are a large number of people who have become naturalized citizens or whose children have become citizens because they are in the United States. Can you imagine the cruelty? You have a husband who is an American citizen, 2 or 3 children who are American citizens. The mother who is not is forcibly removed. You have seen, for example, for yourself, how a U.S. Air Force aircraft landed in India and a lot of passengers were removed, shackled and manacled. I mean, that is not the image of the United States as a land of the free and the brave. It's a land of the fearful. It's a land of the unfree. So I think, in my view, we need Supreme Court, yes, it's going to strike this down, but the real reason behind this is a fear of the white race becoming a minority. But unless Trump can do something about birth rates, which I doubt that a president can do anything about that, even Donald Trump, although he thinks he's almost the emperor of the United States. So this is situation. This is another crazy, chaotic kind of drive by Donald Trump. And unfortunately, the inspiration for this is a chap called Jason Miller, who is basically always by Trump's shoulder and is completely obsessed with the idea that the white race should be supremacist. Trump believes the superiority of the white race. Jason Miller believes the supremacy of the white race. And he keeps drilling these ideas to Trump. But this idea also is going to fail for a simple reason. It is completely opposed to the US Constitution, and no presidential order can override the US Constitution. As for getting a legislation, the senators have all got dependent on votes from naturalized Americans and from their children, or from the children who were children of people who were in the United States and who gave birth here. They are not going to touch it, but they lose their vote. So overall, it's going to be another big political loss for Donald Trump, and another show, frankly, of Donald Trump going completely haywire. I mean, this became obvious to some of us when you had that artificial intelligence image of Trump with a crown spewing waste. I don't want to describe it, waste on protesters below. And he was flying in an aircraft with a crown. From that time onwards, I realized something is wrong with this US president, and he's on the decline. Now his approval ratings are very, very low. Today, for example, we found two of the candidates whom he favored have lost in the primaries. And you're seeing, for example, that his effort to put Todd Blanche, who is completely his yes man, as Attorney General, I don't think that effort is going to succeed. Already Lisa Murkowski of Alaska said she will not support him. And I do believe that other senators also will not support, for a very simple reason, frankly, that they know that this is the president whose popularity is going down. And if they hitch themselves to his wagon, then they also are going to be toast in the next election. Vinith.
You're quite right, sir, and you're quite spot on. Ambassador Mukherjee, Donald Trump, is he trying to reignite the concept of white supremacy? Or do you think that, this is perhaps the perfect time for him to consider retirement? He's already said that J.D. Vance is going to be the next presidential candidate when the elections happen in a few years. What is really happening here? Is Donald Trump even at the driving wheel at this point in time? Even if you look at the war in West Asia, he's changed his statements within minutes, and they have been absolutely contrary to each other. Is there somebody with semblance and sense at the driving wheel here?
Well, actually, my co-panelist, Dr. Sharad Kohli, is a total expert on how to decipher Trump's messages, which change every 12 hours. He's actually worked out a method, which I'm sure he'll delight us and the audience with when you give him the floor. But what I would like to say here is that, in my perspective, apart from the fact that he's a racist, total racist, he is a transactional racist. He is doing this to get back his MAGA base. He knows that the Supreme Court will turn it down. And in any case, he's already endorsed Vance, who's just had his fourth child with horror of horrors, an Indian woman who looks very Indian and who's a Hindu. My God. So he has endorsed Vance, and he hasn't said that my endorsement is conditional on your divorcing your wife. So if he has endorsed Vance with his Indian wife and four racially mixed children who have the Indian brain and maybe a little bit of Vance's look, because that's a good interracial marriage, Indian IQ and a good skin complexion. For those who like having good skin complexion, that's the only good thing in the interracial marriage as far as I'm concerned. I believe he's only doing it for the MAGA base. He knows very well that the conflict he started with Iran, United States is a big loser. He doesn't know how to get himself out of it. He keeps talking about the fact that, he's having talks with Iran, which the Iranians immediately deny. So this is just a way of telling the MAGA base, hey guys, I have to be here for another 2 years. Please don't defeat all my candidates in the midterm. I am your guy. I am with you. I believe in white supremacy, etc., etc. I don't know how much of this is just vitriolic stuff coming out of him because he's upset with the way things are turning out for him in West Asia, or whether it is because his advisors have told him, say all this, the MAGA base is really upset with you because of inflation, which has gone up because he has put tariffs on stuff that his MAGA base buys, including Indian antibiotics, which are now so expensive in the United States, Vineet, you cannot imagine how much normal antibiotics that we take for granted here in India, how much they are costing his MAGA base back in US. So I think it's just transactional, Vineet. He is transactional and he's just doing it for transaction. And I'm not Dr. Kohli, but I'll say, who knows what he'll say in 48 hours, Vineet. Maybe he'll change it and he'll say, no, birthright, yes, we are land of the free. And I love all mixed birth people. He can say anything, he can change anything. It's a tally up to him. As far as whether he's gone gaga or not, I don't think he's gone gaga at all. I think he's very smart and he says all this like manipulating the stock market. He makes an announcement about the conflict. Stock markets go in a particular way. Then he makes another announcement. Stock markets go in a particular way. He's a transactional guy. He's a smart transactional guy, but totally unfit to be US president.
You're quite right, ma'am. Dr. Kohli, how do you assess the situation? Donald Trump obviously making these sweeping changes does not really have any regard for what the country has been built on. He's already lost a huge cluster of his MAGA base and support. In fact, people who used to, fight for him tooth and nail have started podcasts against him. Perhaps one of the biggest supporters, Tucker Carlson, has completely turned against Trump. He's warning Republicans, he's warning the MAGA base that this is not the president that America deserves. What do you think is going on over here?
Good evening, Vineet, to you, my fellow panelists and the viewers. Well, for the information of Ambassador Mukherjee in our office, we've got a screen ever since he came to power in January 2025. And the screen is it tracks a new index called the Trump Mood Index. So this is another one of those mood swings, shall I say, which he's experiencing. Well, did he ever check in the MAGA base? What is the fertility rate of the MAGA base? It's dropped from 2.1 to 1.6. There is no replacement. There's going to be no children. It's an aging population. There is economic issues. On one side, he wants to bring the entire world's manufacturing back to US. He wants to uproot all the factories around the world and set them in US. Not that there is any place in US and there are people to work for, but he should know that factories are run on people. You need labor force to run the factories. I think that's what he's forgetting. And as far as the only thing I might for a change slightly agree is birth tourism, because there are cases where women travel in the advanced stage of pregnancy in the 5th month or the 6th month. And then they try and deliver the child there because of naturalization. You get the US citizenship. But birth tourism, to that extent, I think is not appropriate. If you're simply traveling to give birth to the child and so that the child gets the American citizenship, yes. But otherwise, it's a recipe for disaster. I think as rightly said, his approval rating is going down. Look at the Michigan win of the primaries, El Saib. He called him communist. He said, that was a Dem-backed candidate, and he's already started losing the primaries. So wait for it's only a couple of months to go. September, October, November, he's going to face midterm, and it's almost certain. It's almost certain. I mean, we can never predict election when, but it's almost certain that he's going to lose the majority in HOR and in the Senate as well. And if he's got any proof of cross-voting happening in Senate and HOR on number of issues, he wanted $73 billion to be sanctioned more for the war, for funding the war. He won by 214 to 216. 4 people cross-voted. He won very, very marginally. Then whether war was justified, he lost that in the vote. I think he should have been getting signals by now that what is the mood of people in America. I mean, if simply saying this, okay, we don't want birth tourism, we don't want children to be born here because they take away jobs. But then, for God's sake, are the Americans ready to take those jobs? The answer is no. There aren't enough people. If today America is running, let me name some sectors: health sector, technology sector. I can just go on and on in how many sectors: engineering sector, many parts of manufacturing sector for that matter, space technology. I mean, you go and dig out the nationality of people who are working there, who are basically running the number of CEOs of the so-called tech companies, the big tech companies, they are all Indians. So I think you should be knowing that when he puts these kind of restrictions on people who made America today, I mean, he should be conscious of the fact that is he looking at America 10 years from now, going forward? The answer is of maybe 20 years from now. Well, he's probably 80 plus. But even if he wants J.D. Vance to be there as the next president, although I would like to express my own opinion, I have a feeling that the Constitution may be amended, and he might you might see him being pitched in for the third time. There is another way which he can do that. He puts one of his son or his his son-in-law as the president, and then he becomes the vice president. So there is another escape route. And then what you do is he resigns and he becomes the president. Then there is no restriction, by the way. That's a loophole in the Constitution. So let's all wait and see what happens. But what I'm very sure is he's not looking at America 20 years beyond, because these kind of decisions are very, very short-sighted. They are meant to please a certain group and nothing beyond that, Vineet.
You're quite right and spot on. Mr. Lali, is Trump going to try something like this? Is he going to say that I lost, the election was rigged, if I won, then I deserve to win?
Well, his nominees in the Senate were not even able to say that who won the last elections, because they knew, damned if they didn't, damned if they don't, in the congressional hearing, because if they admit, then Donald Trump will probably throw them out of the office, because he has a bunch of sycophants around him who simply are yes men. Now the question is that what does Donald Trump want? What is his agenda? He wants to make a white, evangelical, Christian America. That's the kind of people with low IQ who vote for him. I mean, these could be rednecks or people from the Rust Belt states who have probably fell into the trap created by Donald Trump that demonize all people who are non-white. They are here to take your jobs. They are criminals. They have low IQ and la 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 la. So now with the 160 days into the war, he hasn't gotten anywhere, but he's gotten more deeper. And when you say that when you get into a hole, you need to stop digging. But this gentleman isn't reading, what's going on, and is still going strong on it. This is hilarious. A war which was started by the might of America and Israel, and I just have a cutting in front of me which says that, quote opens, Iran tells the Gulf states to rein in Trump or we will hit you hard, quote close. I mean, 47 years the country has been, sidelined and sanctioned, and the mightiest two militaries were not able to bring it down. So that's a different discussion, how Gulf is going to be a different order, and how Saudi Arabia, Turkey, and Pakistan have also signed their own pact. So America is shrinking by the day, but Donald Trump couldn't care less. He finds Jared Kushner, who is his son-in-law and in the real estate business, and Steve Woodcock, who's making malls in New Jersey to deal with the subterranean complex issues of the Middle East. Obviously, they failed, so much so that Iran does not even find them eligible enough to be sitting with them on the table. Now getting to, the ordinance that he's trying to bring. It is 6-3 in Supreme Court. Even he knows, under the constitutional 14th Amendment, he can't do it. He is simply trying to mobilize whatever little is left out of MAGA. $100 billion is what they paid in tariff refunds, where Apple got $2.2 billion, Amazon $600 million, and Nike $300 million. I mean, this is amazing. Donald Trump came for the working classes, and he put tariffs in which the poor middle class Americans are suffering because they are paying higher price at Costco, at Kmart, at Walmart, and at the gas stations. And who's making more money? The big guys are making more money. The Larry Elsons are making more money with the new Paramount, Skydance merger. or CNN, who could also come under their wings. So, Maneet, the point I'm trying to make is that this is only a fig leaf. Only 0.3% of the births that happen in America are born where both the parents are illegal. 9% where one is legal. Number one. Number two, America needs all sorts of people. I can't see the Westby white Americans going and, waiting tables or, working in the farms in California. They cannot do that. They need everybody. They create provisions within the law to bring people through the back door. I also went into one such provision, which is the Messi and the LULAC law, where they want people to work. It's just that they have to legalize people so that in the first few months, you don't get any benefits. They only suck taxes out of it, and then they need it. So Donald Trump, if I was to conclude, he sees his tariffs as a hammer, and all brown and black and colored people as nails, and he uses ordinance to simply hit them in the head.
All right, fair enough. Well, let's see what happens. It's a wait and watch game, as is everything when it comes to Donald Trump. Thank you, everyone, for being a part of this debate. Be right back.